has many qualities as the pleaser, very similar to the pleaser. But in this case, it's because they feel like there is something inherently wrong with them, something they've done way back when that was just so terrible they can't ever overcome it. Not quite sure what it was, or maybe they do know what it was. Maybe they belong to a religious group, or maybe their family's always telling them something, but they believe it's some inherent thing about them that cannot be overcome, and so they have to constantly be pleasing to try and make up for it. And of course, this is a deadly combination to go with the blamer, because the blamer will be all too eager to go ahead and let you take all the blame for everything, and so they'll just pile it on. They'll agree with you that you are to blame for everything. Very, particularly really a sad scenario. So here's an example from a person that wrote in. They wrote, "Nothing I ever did was right. I was constantly ridiculed for my behavior and lectured to about what a bad child I was. My mother seemed to assume that I should already know the proper way to conduct myself at all times. And she was very impatient with me for making even the slightest mistake. Whenever I did something wrong, she assumed it was intentional and accused me of deliberately trying to make her miserable. I grew up with a terrible case of guilt, and this carried over into my relationship with my husband, who, by the way, is just like my mother. Surprise, surprise. He blamed me for everything, and because I felt guilty for just breathing, I always took the blame." Sad, terrible, isn't it? So, if you are a sinner, you're going to tend to do some of these things. First of all, you'll get involved with people who are cruel and uncaring and abusive. You will suffer intense feelings of self-loathing. You will, you'll feel on some level that you must pay for past sins, even if you're not sure what they are. You'll be able to unable to forgive yourself for the past mistakes that you do know, or that you don't know. You'll be unable to forgive yourself for them. You'll be self-denigrating and self-critical, and you'll always blame yourself for whatever goes wrong. So here's another thing written in by someone who falls into this category. "I try so hard to be patient with my husband because I know he doesn't feel well sometimes. He has ulcers, and when they act up, he's a real bear. I know I should be more understanding, but honestly, sometimes it just gets so hard. He's so demanding and so critical of me. Sometimes I get very angry with him, and I know I shouldn't because he can't help it. I probably deserve a lot of this criticism because I don't do things for him that I used to do. But I'm so tired of his complaining, and I resent helping him all the time. I don't like the way I feel. I don't know what to do to change it. I pray to God to help me be more understanding and to be a better wife, and I have even gone to my minister for counseling a few times. He tells me to be more patient and to work on forgiving my husband, and I know he's right. I hold grudges against my husband, and I'm not forgiving. I just keep hearing those terrible things that he says at me over and over again in my head. Sometimes I think I'm going crazy, or that I want to keep remembering what he said to me. I'm not a very forgiving person, you know." Because Trudy feels so bad about herself, she's unable to recognize how inappropriate her husband's behavior is and how damaging it is to her. Instead, she takes total responsibility for the relationship, and she's constantly chastising herself for being angry, even though her anger is perfectly justifiable. This is a terrible situation that she's in, and she is emotionally abused. And so hopefully it'll come to a point where she's going to recognize that. And of course then she's going to have to deal with the process of all of us have to go through when we realize we've been emotionally abused, to heal it. I don't know from this to know for sure if he's a narcissist, a sociopath, or someone that's hopeless in this situation. Hopefully not, but she'll know that soon enough when she starts taking care of herself, because if she gets healthy and he is a narcissist or a sociopath, he won't stick around. And subscribe below and give me a thumbs up.